Do you know what is the best country to survive in the zombie apocalypse of The Walking Dead? What is the best country based on everything we've seen in the series and also seen the comics? What would be the right place to choose, where nothing would be missing and that would have less risk of dying, less risk to have some other problem with enemies, with zombies themselves? Yeah, in this video I will talk about the best country to survive in The Walking Dead, and if you wanna know, stay here and let's go! Hello everyone who watching this beautiful channel, my name is João Victor and I'm back to talk about the Walking Dead universe again, and now I will talk about another country here. Yeah, since the apocalypse started, which is like at least in Daryl's spin-off in this universe, we've been 13 years after the beginning of the outbreak. From the beginning, people have been looking for a place to live, a safe place, a place to be able to maintain their lives and rebuild everything. And according to what we've seen and what has already been presented in this universe, there are some places better than others, and in this video I'm going to bring it. But first, don't forget to check the like button in this video, it helps me a lot with the promotion, and also don't forget to subscribe in this channel so you don't miss any content about the Walking Dead universe and many other shows. And there we go, we can say that the Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, Daryl's spin-off, is the main one that has this role of expanding the horizons of the Walking Dead, showing different locations and countries. We know that sometimes they repeated the story, but they do it very well in showing different places. What the main show, as much as it is very interesting, still only tells stories about the United States. It only shows the east coast of this country. But then, what about such a point? What is the best country? What will be the best place to survive in the zombie apocalypse of The Walking Dead, according to what we know there? The first place on the list that I want to bring here is not a place, but it is a set of places that are shown precisely in Daryl's spin-off, which are the countries of Europe. Yeah, the first and the second season of Daryl Dixon had a great focus on giving space to show France. It gives some clues about other places, but overall it shows France. The third season show a little bit about England and mainly show about Spain. And I wanted to talk about these countries from Europe in general, because according to what we've seen so far, it seems to be a pattern. It seems to be the same thing, so similar. So it would be a type of location that I would rule out from this list here. From what we see in Daryl Dixon, most countries in Europe either don't have enough survivors or are ruled by militias, bad people with bad intentions. There are like a lot of dictatorships there and very precarious situations. They are not very large technological groups, very advanced. In France we see Gené's group, the Power of the Living, and also the religious group from Mont Saint-Michel. And also there's not advancing there, something that you can say, oh, I will live there, the best place to live. No. In Spain it seems to be exactly the same thing. We see the community there in the third season, and we also see about El Alcázar, the location where we have the king of the Spain. So talking about Europe, it's not the place that we can say it's the best place to live, to survive there in this universe. But then we move forward. The next country for us to bring here in this list of this video, and which will also be obviously discarded, is Mexico. Yeah, this country appears mostly there in the second season of Fear the Walking Dead. Well, a country that, from what we saw in Fear, the clues that Fear gave in the seasons, doesn't have much to fear in this apocalypse. Some small communities organized in a very light and precarious way, like the other community that Alicia and Nick were, in some very small things. Nothing too big, nothing too evolved, an abandoned country, taken over by zombies. Perhaps the most interesting thing that is presented to us in the second season of Fear, which could be considered a little, would be that farm that we see right at the beginning of the second season, but that ended up being destroyed. So really, Mexico is not the best country to survive in this universe of The Walking Dead. And then we move on to the obvious that we have in The Walking Dead. There's no way not to mention the main one, which is United States, which is presented to us in the first season of the main show through Atlanta, which is the city that is destroyed, abandoned. Then they come back there, but there's not too much. There are several cities that are also really abandoned, a lot of abandoned place, but of these countries that I have mentioned so far, like the countries of Europe and even Mexico, the United States is the largest and the one with the most structure, even before the apocalypse and after the apocalypse, after the outbreak. Obviously, being bigger and more structured means having larger population, which means having more zombies and having more groups of survivors, having more space. It means having other enemies, the humans themselves, even though they can be enemies. But also, because of that, we have big communities, big structures, like the Commonwealth itself from the last season of the main show. When we watch the last episode of The Walking Dead, we see that it's still there, led by Ezekiel, working with Mercer. Carol has become kind of the director there in the community, but she left the community to go after Daryl. But the Commonwealth is still a large city, a large community in this universe with around 50,000 people living peacefully there in this apocalypse. It has structure, it has currency, enough supplies, it has power, it has food production, fuel production, and several things there. And like, because of the situation when The Walking Dead ended, I say I would live in the Commonwealth. People are safe there, living a good life. If you compare it to the other places, it's much better. But also, in this issue of United States, we have places that are even bigger, like the CRP, the Civic Republic of Philadelphia, the place that we see in The Ones Who Live, the Rick and Michonne spin-off. Like, in the end of The Ones Who Live, we see Rick and Michonne making a revolution there, so it's probably a good place to live because it's bigger. There's like 200,000 people living there, there's currency, there's schools, economy, agriculture, transportation, medicine, water, everything, a lot of apartments, a lot of places to live. It's like a normal city, a normal society. Probably the CRP is the closer place that we have to the normal world, the normal society before the apocalypse. Like, we also have to say that there's a threat there, because in the end of The Ones Who Live, we see Major General Bill mentioning that there are spies in there. He created a large group of infiltrators that is spread across various communities, and there are likely many of them within Philadelphia. Everything indicates that the place is now led by a council, that Rick and Michonne are part of it, so there are many decisions, but probably this is a safe place to live. It's a fair place. And so, concluding the point about United States, it seems like a safe place to start from the list of the places to consider living. And moving on, I already want to bring another country, another region. Now I want to talk about one that also appears in Daryl's spin-off. I want to talk about Greenland. Yeah, we first saw this location in the universe of The Walking Dead in the episode 2 of the second season of Daryl Dixon. Like, Carol, she's in a plane trying to get to Europe with Ash, but before arrive in Europe, they go to Greenland to refuel. They face problems with these two survivors there they meet, but this episode also reveals that it is a place that can be promising, because it's an isolated place with few humans, which means few zombies. It is a place that has nature, that has sources of food, that has sources of power. You can build all this, you can build a community. It's a very plausible place to build bases. There's not so big cities around this region, but it's possible to build. The survivors that we see that Carol meet, they built an interesting base there, and they were living there quietly. So it will be a more isolated place. You don't have many zombies, you don't have many possible enemies. Like, the biggest problems of The Walking Dead are the zombies and the survivors themselves, who can be enemies. There you are fine, but fine in quotes. There's a problem. This episode from the second season of Daryl Dixon also show us that the situation of isolation, of having no enemies, despite being a great solution, can also be a problem. We see these two characters there and understand that the isolation itself, the lack of contact with people in Apocalypse, drove them crazy. More than a decade like this, they went into a total madness. Like, there we see that intense isolation, the total absence of contact with people, can make a person go crazy, or even not just going crazy, just wanting to live like that. An example is also what has already been shown about Julian in the third season of Daryl Dixon, the guy that they meet in England. He reveals that he's a survivor there who is alone. He was the last person left alive in England, but he wants to get out of this isolation. So yeah, talking about Greenland, it has that advantage of isolation. It's safe, but it also has a problem too. And then we go to one that is just a supposition. It's a rumor. We have something based on comics in a book, but nothing confirmed as canonical in the Walking Dead universe, which is the point about China, one of the parts of the world where the most people are concentrated. There's the region of Asia between China and India. China is one of the most populous countries in the world, and that because it has a lot of population. There were certainly too many zombies, but it's also a country with several technological and military advances, and that China's military, unlike the United States, managed to use this at the beginning of the apocalypse, according to the book The Walking Dead Typhoon. Yeah, it's not writing by Robert Kirkman, the original creator of the Walking Dead comics. It is writing by Wesley Chu, but it has been approved by Robert Kirkman. He confirmed that the story about his book is what he says about this universe of the Walking Dead. So it looks like canon, but we can't confirm it as something canon. We don't have a confirmation about China in this universe of the Walking Dead from TV. Well, and these are the main ones that we know or have something mentioned. So which one would be my choice to be the best country to survive? I am obviously between these last three ones that I mentioned: United States, Greenland, and China. And I believe that the best answer depends on your objective. If the goal is to live alone and isolated, and the person believes that he will have the ability to maintain sanity and other things without contact with people for more than decades, decades, which is very difficult. But if the goal was that, for sure Greenland is the best country, the best region if you don't want to call it a country. But the problem is also not having contact with people. Great risk of going crazy. But it's there, as I said, it depends on the proposal, it depends on the objective. Now, if your goal is to live as close as the world was before, even before the outbreak happened, I would put the United States because there are several options for large communities there. Many communities that in theory are safe. I didn't even mention, for example, Portland, which appears in the end of World Beyond, because we've never seen the real situation there. But we have the Commonwealth, which I talked about, which seems like it's even safer for you to live there. I think it's safer than the Civic Republic in the current moment. Like there, you would not go mad for lack of contact with people, and you can live a fair life. As I said, nothing is perfect, it has the risks, but my choice would be United States, especially the Commonwealth. But I know you can ask, what about China? There in the book it says that it is something evolved, that it has large communities and everything else. I know, but in the same way that you can have large communities, you can have large gigantic herds of zombies that can end all these communities. In the United States we have the same thing, but in China, as much as they have technology and the intelligence, which seems to be more evolved, I believe that problems there can be on a much larger and more threatening scale. Apart from that, the main point I didn't choose China is the absence of information. As I said, what's in the book there, The Walking Dead Typhoon, it's not canonical in a confirmed way with the show. So we don't know how China is in this universe of The Walking Dead in the show. So my choice would be the Commonwealth. So go write in the comments which one would you choose from these. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so don't miss more curiosity videos about the universe of The Walking Dead. Click the like button because it helps me a lot with the promotion. Thank you for watching this video, I'll be back soon, and bye!